Uh, we're going to go ahead and introduce everybody. First up, we have my co-host, Dr. Chidera. Please take it away.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Chidera Uzowihe. I'm a PGY1 prelim at MedStar, and then I'm doing my advanced in PM&R.
All right, and I'm just gonna go down my list here. Next, we have Dr. Muller.
Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Muller Pierre Louis. I'm a PGY1 general surgery resident at St. Luke's University in Pennsylvania, and thank you guys for having me.
All right, next we have Dr. Kiara.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Kiara Wallace. I'm a PGY1 at University of Louisville. It's great to be with you all this afternoon or this evening.
Fantastic. Next we have Dr. Sahanna.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Sahanna Sinnarajah. I'm a PGY1 in family medicine at the University of Maryland Medical Center. Thank you for joining us.
And finally, we have Dr. Dedric.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Dedric Bryant. I'm a PGY1 in anesthesia at McLaren Greater Lansing, a teaching site for Michigan State University. Thank you for having me this evening.
All right, fantastic. Thank you guys so much, for joining us. Like I said before, I know you guys are really busy. So just the mere fact of you taking time out of your busy schedules to come out here and spread this knowledge, spread these tools for success is truly appreciated. And I'm pretty sure, all the participants that are doing feel the same way as well. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and begin. All right, just a general outline of how we're going to do this. We're going to split this session into two parts. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we're just going to split this session into two parts. The first part, we're just going to go over a general ERAS timeline, what's coming up on the horizon right now, and just some things that you need to be aware of before you upload your application. After that, we're going to talk about just some tools that we can use during the interview process to help you stand out, get that residency spot, that residency program of your choice, of your dreams. Afterwards, we're going to give you a little bit of advice as far as ranking programs. We might do a session later on in the application season, just help out with that process as well. And then we're going to have a general question and answer session. It can be about anything, in reference to the application process, or just, specialty wise as well. However, in part 2 of this session, we're going to have breakout sessions where you can go to individual breakout rooms, to talk about some specialty specific questions that you will feel more comfortable asking, our esteemed doctors over here. Okay, so we have internal medicine, family medicine, general surgery, anesthesiology, PM&R, and OBGYN for you guys to choose from. All right, first and foremost, I just want to say congratulations to have made it this far. There have been a lot of trials, a lot of obstacles, tribulations, and for you to have made it this point, to this point, it's not by chance. It's a testament to your hard work, your dedication, your resilience, your discipline, and nobody can take that away from you. If you haven't heard it often enough, this is a reminder that you are meant to be at this position, and all we're here to do is to give you some tools that can help you, guide you along this process. Okay, so please feel free to utilize us, as much as you need to. All right, so as far as the ERAS timeline is concerned, the big date right now is September 27th. And as we all know, the programs can begin downloading your applications by 9 a.m. So we want to make sure that we have everything that we need put together, uploaded, ready to go, ready to be shipped out by 9 a.m. Your letters of recommendations, personal statements, your CV, experiences, everything good to go. All right, so please, September 27th, very huge date. Another important date will be January 31st. This is the NRMP registration deadline. And just because you registered for the ERAS doesn't mean you've registered for the match. So please, you want to go ahead and do that as soon as possible, before January 31st, because it's going to be an increased fee. We all know how expensive this process is. Why make it more expensive for yourself, right? And then so starting from then as well, you're going to be able to rank your programs, do your rank order list, and then the deadline for that will be the 28th. So you get to move programs up and down the list. But after February 28th, everything is going to be final. And March 11th, that's when match week begins. You're going to get an email that says, congratulations, you matched. Fantastic. Celebrations. It's lit. Turn up. Let's go. But then on Friday, March 15th, you're going to know exactly where it is that you matched. And you'll be happy with that, you know. Yeah, that's the goal. And yeah, so July 1st, residency training is going to start, and then you'll begin working as a, which is what we all dreamed of, right? Fantastic. All right. Cool. We're going to talk about some things you want to be aware of before you upload your application, right? First of which will be a personal statement. So as far as your personal statement is concerned, by now you should have like your final draft, but you just want to make sure you spell check and proofread. You don't want to have any grammatical errors that will stop you from getting the position of your dreams, of your choice. And these are small things that you can do, right? You're not going to, you know, have yourself to speak for you. You're your own best, you know, salesman. However, like all we have at this moment in time before you get the interview invite will be a documentation. So you want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward, right? In addition to that, you know, some of us have red flags, which is not a crime, right? However, you want to make sure you're getting ahead of these things, you know, be it failing an examination or having an extended period away from your clinical training. You just want to make sure you're addressing those red flags, you know, and putting them out there. Just, you know, so there's no, you're not like caught up in the process, okay? And also you want to make sure you're clearly stating like why you want to apply to the specialty of your choice. It's different now, you know, than saying, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a doctor now. So what kind of doctor do you want to be and why? You know, so those are very important questions that you have to make sure that you answer, okay? And also you can upload, you know, multiple personal statements. For those of you that are dual applying, you want to make sure that you're uploading the right personal statement to the right program. You know, you don't want to be applying for surgery with maybe like a backup IM and then upload an IM personal statement to a surgery program. That's like, they're not even going to take you seriously, right? Like you can't even get your affairs and documentation in order, you know, so why should we like trust you with the care of our patients? You know, just things like that you want to be aware of, okay? And also, you have the ability to upload multiple personal statements, right? So let's say you're interested in, you know, your top two programs, University of Maryland, University of Pennsylvania. You can, you know, kind of, if it's the same program like internal medicine, you can tailor your personal statement in such a way that, you know, your last paragraph, your closing paragraph can be tailored to the aims and objectives of the program that you're applying to. If you haven't done this already, it'll be of your benefit to like look at the aims and objectives of the programs on their website. You know, make sure that you're tailoring your personal statement to what it is that they want in an applicant, okay? And you can do that for multiple programs. And of course, as far as your experiences are concerned, please just include like the impact of those experiences. It's not just to like, you know, say, oh, I did this, or I was in research. Like, how did that impact your journey to get to, you know, the decision of making, you know, making a decision of going to whatever specialty that you choose. And also what you did during those experiences as well is you know, very important to talk about. Yeah, our panelists, do you guys have anything else to add as far as this is concerned?
I wanted to comment on the start date. Most programs start July 1st, but there's a few that don't. So if you have like, I don't know, something important in the summer, or if your start date is like, it's important to you to know when you start for real, that's always a question you can ask during the interview too. Because my prelim that I'm in currently started June 16th or something. Like it was very early. So most programs though start July 1st, but if you have like anything going on in the summer or think you'll be moving, things like that, then it's important for you to get that information like accurate either on the website or during the interview.
And I have a statement about the whole NRMP signing up for that, as well as when you submit your application. You should aim to submit your application on the first day that it's due. So if it's September 27th, like before you go to sleep on September 26th, you should already have authorized, signed your application, because there's thousands of people who apply on that day, you know, and it gets timestamped, and everyone who applies prior to 9 a.m. on September 27th has the same timestamp. So that will be the first set of applications on the desk for the program directors. And like, I'm not saying like if you're waiting on something that's super important that you think will dramatically change the impact of your application, okay, if you want to submit it a little bit after, that's a call that you have to make. But for the most part, you should aim to get that done by that 9 a.m. so that you have the best opportunity. Some programs release interviews on a rolling basis, and you want to have the best opportunity of getting an interview by being one of the first apps that they see, right? Less apps that they can compare it to potentially. Also for the NRMP match, like Bem said, it's like, even though you're applying for ERAS, you're not applying for the match, I would say just get that out of the way before you submit your application. Because when they get their application, it will show if your NRMP number is there or not. I'm not saying that a program will be like, why did this person not sign up for the match? But the goal is give a completed application. It's something less that you have to worry about. And if suppose you blow them out the water with your application or early in your interview and they would like to rank you just right away, even before like, rank order list, they just want to throw you down, like they have all your information. So it only works in your favor to be as prepared and to have everything squared away by the time that you submit your app.
I have a comment regarding the red flag. Address your red flags with a purpose. Don't just address it as in a check mark. Oh, okay, I mentioned my red flag. Make sure when you talk about it, you talk about how you learned from it, how you grew through it, how you've changed since it. Don't just check box, I've mentioned my red flag. Make sure it's for a purpose and with a purpose behind it.
And also for the spell check and proofread, Grammarly, great tool to utilize. It helped a lot for me.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for those comments. I just also want to piggyback on something that Dr. Muller said. So as far as like submitting your application, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to wait last minute to do it. And you don't want to be, one of the reasons why you don't want to be part of those last people is because like we have like thousands of people uploading their application at the same time. Sometimes like the server can crash as well, and that can like delay like, uploading your application. So the earlier you do that is definitely the better, So yeah, thank you guys so much for your comments. And then moving on. So, we've submitted our applications and now we're waiting interviews, right? So just some things you can do to, better prepare for this process. One of the things you can do is make a separate email. That's something I did. I don't know, maybe the other panelists can speak to that as well. But just this at this stage of your life, this is one area of your life that you really need order. There's going to be a lot of information coming at you, but you want to make sure you're able to organize all this information in the same place. Having a separate email for interviews, knowing that, okay, if I'm getting an email notification, it's most likely going to be like a interview invite. And then once you do get that notification, you need to go ahead and schedule that interview as soon as you can. And I say that because we have hundreds of people going for one interview spot. And the more you delay scheduling that interview, you increase the chances of you being on the wait list. Maybe like the timing doesn't necessarily like fit for you as well. And also something you have to be aware of, different specialties are going to get different interview invites at different times. I forget who has it first, maybe it's family medicine or something. I can't really remember. But just because you don't, I think OB is a little bit later on, and as well. But like, just because you don't get an interview invite when other people are getting interview invites, it doesn't mean anything. Just calm down. It's fine. There's different cycles of interview invites that are going to come out. I know I say this, but there's still going to be some level of anxiety. I'm sorry, like it's part of it. But like just try to keep calm. Talk to your loved ones, your support system. They're always going to be there for you. And then when it comes down to the interview proper, please be natural, be yourself. You don't have to be somebody that you're not, because as much as these programs are going to be interviewing you, you have to be interviewing these programs. Do I actually want to be here? Can I see myself being here for the next 3 years, working with this leadership, working with these co-residents? So in addition to that, also like if you put a research publication on your CV, on your experiences or any type of, experience on there, please be ready to speak about it. I've talked to some program directors, and pretty much like there's some, people that will put experiences or like I did a research publication on, multiple myeloma or something like that. And then when it's time to speak about it, you're like, I don't know what's going on, and they can tell, these are seasoned, medical professionals. They can tell like when you're lying about something, and it's not going to look good on you. Okay. It's better for you to not even put anything there at all that, can't really speak to, versus like you putting something there that you can't like defend and like, speak confidently about. Okay. Also, something else that you want to do is listen with intent during your interviews. I say that because there's going to be times during the interview when there's going to be a pause. They're going to ask you, "Oh, do you have any questions?" And you don't want to have zoned out the whole time. You really want to make sure that you're in there, you're focused, you're listening, so you're able to ask them a question. The question that you ask, it can be about the program, it can be about the interviewer themselves, but just your ability to respond with asking a question can show interest and can make your interviewers know that, okay, this individual, is listening, is interested in my program, and I'm actually able to have a conversation with this individual. Okay. And then, yeah, just have a list of questions, that you can think about, because some questions are better asked to the residents, and then some questions are better asked to like program directors, staff, faculty. So it's not everybody that, like, for instance, a question like, "Oh, what's your schedule like?" The leadership isn't necessarily like going through, the day-to-day schedule. They're worried about different things. Those questions are better asked like to the residents. And I have a couple of questions here, but before I do that, do the panelists have any other tips about interviews that you want to speak on?
Yeah, something I will add is you are getting interviewed by the program, but don't forget you're also interviewing them too. So like Bem said, try to ask as many questions as you can. And, this is somewhere that you're going to be spending like 3 to 5 years. And so you want to make sure that you're asking everything that you need to know.
This is regarding the emails. Connect your email to your phone. I personally didn't make a separate email. I use my school email, but I made sure my emails came to my phone as notifications. So either or, make sure they come to your phone.
No, sorry, go ahead, Dr. Dedric. Go ahead.
Another to follow up on that on emails, I actually missed out on the interview because I responded like an hour and a half or 2 hours later to Rutgers anesthesia program. They sent out like a mass email to everyone, to all the anesthesia applicants who I guess met like all their filter criteria, and just said respond with, they gave like three or four dates and just say respond back with what date you can do for an interview. And I responded like an hour and a half, 2 hours later, because I was on a rotation, and they said, "Oh, you can sign up for our wait list because all the interviews are booked up." So just being on it and responding as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
And I would say, just to add an extra oomph on that, especially like it depends on when you're applying. If you're in 4th year and you have rotations and stuff, just have some people on standby. It could be your mom, it could be a significant other. But if you have other people who have access to your email, that like, suppose like if I was scrubbed in to a case and I got an interview email, I had like 2-3 people watching my email that would just pick a date for me, even if like I got back to it at another time. So like, be resourceful. If you know that there might be times that you might be away, like have somebody who's trusted that's like, "I'll respond, I'll pick a date for you ASAP,"
Solid. Thank you guys so much for your input. And yeah, just as far as like being on top of it as well, connecting your email to your phone, I think that's like a fantastic thing. We're gonna go ahead and share like how exactly like to do that. If you're in a room with like Dr. Kiara, she can talk to you more about that as well. But like if you're unable to like elicit that, like we'll go ahead and like share that on our page on how you can do that, because I think that can be very helpful as well. Okay. All right. So these are just some questions that you can ask like and I got this from Med School Insiders. You can just like Google stuff as well. You know, but some questions about they can ask the interviewers, you know, like the faculty themselves, like just something about improvements to the program, you know, in like the last 3 to 5 years, maybe like if they have like a grant, you know, what will they do with that? How will they make improvements to the program? You know, things like that. You know, how they make sure that they're, you know, supporting like the residents. That's something else you can think about. And then, yeah, of course, like, you know, asking pretty much ask them like anything, right? Like, what's their call schedule like? You know, what are the weaknesses in their program, right? What was their most important factor in choosing the program? I think that's also very important. That can really like tell you, you know, what is, you know, what the program is really truly about, what they really like represent. You know, you can ask questions, you know, about like how, if they feel like supported as well by their program, you know, what their future endeavors are, like is it fellowship, you know, they want to go into primary care, you know, things like that, you know. So definitely make sure that you're asking the right questions to the right people. Okay. All right. And then
And you can take
so
you can take a picture of that slide if you want. I also dropped the VillageDocs email in the chat. We're all like doctors busy, but we always have time to uplift, you know, the people coming behind us and things like that. So panelists as well, if y'all are open to it, if you all want to do any like mock interviews or have questions about how you're answering certain questions, feel free to email us. We can figure out a time that like we can meet, even if it's like 10 minutes, 30 minutes or anything like that. I think if you find it helpful, like we can make time and meet and kind of do like a mock interview or something like that. So the VillageDocs email is in the chat. If any of the panelists want to put their email, if they're open to that, like specialty specific emails, they can do that as well.
Thank you, Dr. Uzi, for that. Appreciate it. All right. So yeah, so you've gotten your interview invite, you know, you've done your interviews, you know, now you want to rank your programs, right? Like what are some things that we need to be thinking about? What's going through our minds, right? So there's going to be different things that are important to different people, but these are just some of the things that you should be thinking about. One of them is geographical location. Do I want to be around sunlight? Do I want to be in the mountains? You know, it's up to you, whatever floats your boat. Do I want to be close to family and friends? You know, how well will I function far away from my support system is very important to some people. Do I want to be in the city, you know, or like a completely rural environment? You know, that also matters too. Do I want a university versus community program? You know, future careers, we've spoken about that too. Moonlighting opportunities, you know, being in global health, like is the program big on community service, and also visas, right? Like what kind of visa opportunities are or are not provided by the program. Something also that I found out during like the process is this app called the Match Prison. You guys can download this. You know, it has all the residency programs in the US over here. You can you know, rank, like they have like a lot of different metrics that you can use to rate the program. Sometimes it gets like, you know, very complicated, so you can just use your own metrics and do like a 4-point system. Just pick like the 4 things that are most important to you, maybe make an Excel sheet that works for some people as well. You know, but something else that can help you truly, something that I like to call the vibe check, is very, very important. And what do I mean by the vibe check? Okay, every program is gonna swear that, oh, residents are together, you know, you know, we're one family, you know, come join us, we got this, we got you, yeah, that's fine or whatnot. But like after having like 1 or 2 interviews, you're gonna get a taste of like what it feels like. Okay, like are these people really faking? Are they really together, or like are they like messing around? You know, and after each interview, I implore you to either, you know, make a voice note of how you felt about the interview, or you can just do like a, you know, a little a short note, you know, like write it down how you felt. And you know, next year February, I promise you, it's really going to help when it comes to like ranking these programs, because a program can have multiple fellowship opportunities, they have all the money in the world, salary on check, you know, wonderful cost of living, but like if you feel like the people just hate each other, why would you even want to be there? You know, so that's just something that, you know, you should think about moving forward. Panelists, do you guys have anything else to add on that?
I think just taking notes or a voice note or anything is so important, especially if you're applying to a lot of programs. You're hopefully, you know, going to get a lot of interviews. And if you accept all of them, like in October, you might be like, okay, like I know out of the programs I've interviewed with, how I'm feeling. By end of January, you might forget how good you felt about some programs that you interviewed with in October. So, and then I applied prelims and advanced, and then I applied a backup specialty. So that's 3 different specialties, interviews within all of them. The one I matched to was one of my first interviews, but you gotta like take notes on how you like the program. Also take notes on if you feel like you'll be a good fit, if you feel like the people there get along, like anything that's important to you, whether it's location, if you have family around, anything important to you, just make note of it. So then when rank time comes, you don't have to try and think back like, I think I like this program or, anything like that. Like taking notes or a voice note definitely helps you just keep everything in order and you'll be like less stressed. When ranking comes, you won't feel like you're basing it off like what you think happened or what you kind of think how the interview went. Like you'll have your notes in front of you to kind of guide that process.
Also, what may help is if you kind of start your own rank list as you have the interview. So when you get first interview, of course, that would be number 1. Your second interview, how do you like that interview based on your first one? Or find someone to talk to. If you don't want to do the voice recording or the note card thing, just find someone to talk to after every interview. That's that. And then questions, just to back just a little bit. One of the main questions I used to ask for this whole vibe check thing, I like that, Vims, is what don't you like about your program? Because if someone say nothing, they're lying. Everybody don't like something about their program. So I used to always ask that and see, 1, how long it takes them to come up with the answer. And 2, if it's like a valid answer, because there's something, like I said, you don't like about your program. I just think that's everywhere.
Solid. Right. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Dr. Kiara. Thank you, Dr. Uzi. And yeah, so we're opening the floor right now to general questions. Please don't be shy. We're one family here. Like it's all cool. This is a low stress, as low stress as it gets. So please, if you have a question, this is the time to ask. And it will be answered. There's no question that's a stupid question, doesn't exist. Even to this day, I ask questions, like there's no way, like if I'm uncomfortable, I would for sure ask a question. So please, feel free to ask question, guys.
And you can put it in the chat as well. Either like you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can drop it in the chat.
Then yeah, and if there are no questions here, if you feel more comfortable asking like the panelists, like we can just like transition to the specialty section.
If it's not specialty specific, I am going to say, try to ask your question in here so that the other applicants can hear the answer to your question.
Please don't be shy, guys. We was just in your shoes last
There's
year.
no way y'all sat down this post don't have at least one question. There's no way. I mean, hey, maybe, man, maybe y'all got it on lock. That's fine too. That's what we attain for. That's what we strive for.
Okay, this question is kind of basic. It's not really a main question, but are we required to like make a title or anything for our personal statement? I saw like in ERAS when you upload it, it kind of says like title. Do they like expect us to kind of like make a title for a personal statement, or is it cool to just put my personal statement? Or
in ERAS, I think when this asks you to make a title, it's because you can upload multiple personal statements. So I had uploaded at least 10, 15 different personal statements because I tweaked my main personal statement for like 10, 15 programs I was really interested in, just tweaking the last paragraph or so. But I didn't have an actual paragraph on the actual personal statement that got sent to the program. I have an actual title on the personal statement that actually got sent to the program.
okay.
Yeah, they don't see the title. Like the title is just for you to keep track of. So it'll be like Georgetown personal statement, or like Pittsburgh personal statement. Like that's for you to kind of keep track. The programs themselves don't see.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, they'll just see the body of whatever you submit.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and there's a question in the chat from Elizabeth. It says, hello, thank you for this. Do you all have personal tips you use for interview prep? Go ahead, Dr. Benz, you go first.
Yeah, so personal tips used for interview prep. Definitely like you want to do at least like, 1 or 2 mock interviews, maybe more depending on your level of comfort. I definitely did a couple. I spoke to a resident that had already matched, went through like one session, because everybody has their own ticks during the interview. Maybe you make a lot of pauses or go off topic. Of course, like you want to make sure that you have like the basic questions answered, right? Because they're always going to ask you, tell me about yourself, right? Like you have to make sure that you're able to answer that question. I want to say in like 2 minutes, and for something like that, I was just told to talk about, like past, present, and future, like, where you come from, what you're doing right now, and, what you hope to attain in the future. And then just like trickle it down in the end with like your hobbies and interests, just to give them something to talk about. So that's, pretty much like what I did. And also one other thing, now that you mention it, when you get your interview invites, you can schedule like the interviews that I guess that you're more interested in down along like the season, versus like interviews that, okay, maybe like you're interested in the program, but it doesn't, not necessarily like your first choice. You can do those interviews earlier on. That way you can get a taste of what it feels like. You can be more comfortable. That way, when it gets to the interviews that you have jitters about, at least like you're more confident because you've been, through like multiple interviews.
I would say 3 things you need to know. Know yourself, know who you are, know your why you pick a specific specialty, and then what you can contribute. For all your interviews, you're gonna have to convey that, and you're gonna have to make the interviewers really feel your passion and make them feel like you're being your authentic self. So know yourself, know your why, and know what you can contribute.
And I would say, to kind of piggyback off of that, is you should in your mind know what are the things that you want the interviewer to walk away remembering from you. You'll go on some good interviews and you go on some bad interviews where you could tell this person is doing horrible. They're either talking about themselves as an interviewer, or they're kind of not really structuring it in a way that allows you to really, leave those points across. So I was very good at redirecting towards my strengths. They could talk about something else and I'll talk about, and that's why I, doing this is very important to me because my goals of this and that, So kind of understand like, hey, I want them to know that I am very, I'm a team player, I'm very motivated, I'm very X, Y, and Z. And you will know how to find a way to kind of lead each conversation towards a point where you can really show a strength of yours, so that no matter what, I've had some interviews. I had an interview that was literally 5 minutes. Whole interview was 5 minutes versus some that were like 30 minutes, right? So you have to ask yourself, in that 5 minutes, especially when they tell you to tell me about yourself for 2 minutes, like how will they walk away and say, when my face is on the board, they know exactly to say like, hey, this guy was all about this, that, and the third, and I like him, So always remember that it's an opportunity to highlight yourself. And even if the interview is not going the way that you want it to, know how to redirect towards leaving an impression.
I would say, if you have time and try to make time, read up on your interviewers, because that can kind of also steer a conversation. I talked about Netflix on one of my interviews. I'm from Chicago, so I talked about Chicago on some of my interviews. And so that also tells you what type of, again, vibe check the program has and the attendings that you're going to be working with. And actually, the person I talked about Netflix was with one of my attendings that's in my current program. So I would definitely say read up on some of your interviewers, because it'll also help some of your anxiety and nervousness if you see you have something in common with the person that's interviewing you.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, like if you're like researching, maybe like they have a specific type of like global health program that you're interested in, make sure you address those things in your interview and ask them about that, and never say, I don't have any questions. Always ask questions, because that shows that you're interested.
I think also before your interview, read up on the program. Like the program's assuming you already saw their website and all of that before you got there. Read up on the website. If there's anything that piques your interest, ask about it. Like find some questions you can ask about. If there's nothing that piques your interest, still find some questions that you can ask them about it. Because if you're interviewing with them, they're gonna want to know that you did some of your own research, and just have some questions prepared for that.
To piggyback real quick.
Yeah.
Ask for clarity of something on their website, or that you want to know more information. Do not ask a question and the answer is on the website.
Yeah, don't do that.
Because I just feel like it makes you look bad. Even as an applicant, I wouldn't know if someone asking the questions that's dead on the website. So do not ask a question that's listed on the website unless you need some clarity or want a little bit more information about it.
Hey, everybody. So I have a question about interviews as well. So were there any questions that you guys received from your interviewers that kind of threw you guys off guard? So I know like there are like general interview questions, but were there any questions that was just like, okay, that was definitely unexpected? And how did you actually like go about answering those?
I did get one question that kind of threw me off. The interviewer asked me, I would say I like football. I told him I like football. He was just like, okay, what position would the anesthesiologist be on a football team? I was like, oh, like, but, and then he told me like his answer, he was like, he's going to say safety, the last line of defense. I was like, okay, I saw how you went with that. So sometimes they'll look at your interests and then they'll try to do something. And then I heard like some people got asked if you were a plant, what type of plant would you be?
Yeah, I definitely got. I was like, I got the if you're a tree, what kind of tree will you be? You know, I was like, I mean, I don't know. I was like palm wine tree. You know, I don't know. Like, I think those type of questions, they just want you to like say something and not like be like stuck on it. You know, just also for like conversation purposes, want you to seem like a normal, you know, human being. But yeah, I think that was definitely my weirdest question for sure. Yeah.
You should also read up on what are illegal questions that interviews can ask, like, oh, when do you expect on having a family? Like there's certain questions that they really can't ask. I think a question that kind of threw me was I was applying for, like I got an interview at a surgery program that doesn't match IMGs. And they let me know that I was the only IMG that they were interviewing. And they asked, how does that feel? Right? You think that's kind of a crazy question to be like, you know, you're the only, you know, international medical graduate. Like, how does that feel? And do you think that you'll be able to kind of keep up with the program? So that one kind of threw me, you know, because I thought that by getting the interview that already meant that my application to them was enough and that wouldn't be a factor. But you just have to learn how to, you know, keep rolling with the punches, never let them like stay even keel, never let them like kind of push you off your balance, but be prepared for everything. And even if you get illegal questions such as, you know, like you should answer them in a way that you kind of don't have to answer, but also let them show that, you know, it doesn't really affect you. But some people really do get shaken up by certain questions. And I think you just have to be prepared and just know how to kind of finesse around the question.
Agree with what Muller said. I don't think I had a question that threw me off, but it caught me off guard. One of my interviewers asked me, what did my siblings do for a living? I felt it was very racial at the time because I'm like, what does that have to do with my interview? So that kind of threw me off, but I don't think I had any like questions I couldn't answer. I would say come up with like 3 meaningful experiences or 3 things that you can kind of use to answer any questions they ask you. But there'll definitely be some questions that a red flag or a light bulb pop on, like, wait, what?
Absolutely.
If you can, I would say if you do want to like speak on any experiences, try to make them different from like if you mentioned any experience in your personal statement, try to like come up with a different one that you can talk like expand on. Or if you want to talk about the same experience, then don't include all the information about it or something like that in your personal statement. Like try to give them more than whatever they read. In terms of questions, I didn't get any weird questions, I don't think, but I did get one interesting one that I kind of like. They asked, if your best friend were here right now and you weren't in the room, like what would they tell us about you? So kind of wanted to get a sense of like, how do other people perceive you kind of thing. And I thought that was interesting. I like that question.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, panelists. There's one more question here. After this question, we're going to transition to the specialty section. So the question is, how do we basically answer what are your weaknesses question? I mean, I can just like start off. So I picked like two weaknesses that like they're kind of, you can see them as weaknesses, but you can also see them as strengths. I always went for what did I say? So pretty much like I find it difficult to say no, because I really like, take pride and passion in like, aiding others. And by doing that, I end up taking on too much that I can handle, all in the benefit of like, getting the work done like as a team, So by saying that, like it does show that, in every situation, like you don't necessarily have to say yes, right? Like you have to like have that balance and know like what it is that is your level, is your limit. Everybody has to know their limits, but at the same time, it does show that you're also willing to go above and beyond for others as well. So yeah, that was one that I use for my weakness, and I can't really remember the second one right now, but I don't know if any of the panelists have any other weaknesses that they'd like to share. Okay, Dr. Dedric.
That's a really good question. Weaknesses, because I got asked the question a lot, and one of the weaknesses I turned into a strength was me being an introvert. I told him it's a weakness because sometimes, or a lot of the time, I'm not the first to speak up or say something. I don't have a type A personality, but for anesthesiology, why I applied to the field is because most of the anesthesiologists I met were kind of introverted, and I told them I listen more than I speak, and that helps with my ability to be empathetic, and I pay attention. So sometimes people take being quiet as you not knowing something, but when given a chance, like I can surprise people. So just turn your weaknesses into something that's relatable and talk about how your weakness can add to your strengths.
Yeah, and I would just say that I think the key to sometimes crushing that question is showing that you actually have a certain level of insight on your weakness, and then like what are you doing to overcome that? So like primary example, like if you say, how you've changed or how you've learned from that, it normally has a more profound impact. So like primary example, kind of like Bem, I said that I'm like a people pleaser, and anybody who's known me for my time in Ross will know that I spent, I overstretched myself with doing lectures for multiple clubs and tutoring, and I would spend time to talk to anybody at any moment on any topic they wanted to, and eventually, you don't have much time for yourself. But through that, I've learned, right, how to take care of myself, how to say no, how to eventually. So I think with every kind of weakness that you want to turn to a strength, you should kind of slip in a learning moment. Like, this is how I was, and this is how I'm working on this weakness. Of course, they will see that, yes, doing things for others is great. But if you just say like, this is my weakness and I've accepted it, it's different than somebody who's like, and this is how I'm actively trying to improve on that weakness.
Absolutely, that's an excellent point you made, Dr. Muller. Like it's not just enough to state the weaknesses. You really have to state how it is that you're growing from those experiences, right? It's really crucial in this process. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you for coming out. So now we're going to transition to the second part of this session. So I've opened the breakout rooms, and we have 6 breakout rooms for the specialties. Panelists, can you guys see the breakout rooms? Can you see that? All right, solid. So you guys can go in there, and then yeah, we'll just send the participants to join you afterwards. Chichi.
Yeah, I'm here.
So I'm about to go in the break. I don't know if it's going to like pause it, stop the recording, but I think it'll probably stop the recording. But I don't think it matters. I think it's okay.
I have the recording on my side
All right, cool.
to the cloud, so it should be fine.